Welcome back to Sidekicks, as we're joined by Chris Black and Danny Fisher, the Executive Director of Pacesetter, as we're giving out our high school soccer awards. And we're with the boys side now. And Chris, we'll start with you. Your nominees for the Boys Player of the Year.
Well, yeah, I think it's been interesting with so many kids graduating last year, but we saw the regulars stand up again. Zach Mocha obviously doing what he does, and Joey Akamanunu, who really kind of had to take a little bit of a back seat, and in a lot of situations with so many great seniors last year, really take over. I mean, those are two of the guys right at the top of it. John Kite, obviously from Ottawa Hills, D3 Player of the Year. Obviously, he's another one to throw in, as well as a lot of other people could be into that mix, but those are really at the top of my list for the top three.
I got, like, obviously Zach Mocha's in there as well, Joey's in there as well. I also think sort of Brad Biggs from Northview as well had a really good year. I mean, they lost 90 to 95% of their team, so he's had to lead a real big underclassmen class this year to really come through, and they had a really good year. I thought Ryan Tussin had a good year at Northview as well. So add sort of those to the mix as well.
And so the Player of the Year, in your opinions, are?
I've got Joey Akamanunu, which Player of the Year for the track, and I think really he was allowed to roam a lot more this year, being a little more of a focus for St. John's, and obviously he's going to move on to that next level. We'll see what they do without him after losing 7 starters last year. You lose a Joey Akamanunu, I mean, so many great players there anyways, but I've got Joey at this point of what he could do on the field, covering so much space.
I'm going to go with Brad Biggs this year from Northview. I thought he had a terrific year this year. I thought he led a team which hadn't had that much varsity experience. He came up with a couple of really big goals in the year. I thought he had a really good season, not just on the field, but in terms of being a leader as well, and he led that team as well. And they had some really good success this year. I think, as a whole, I think Northview maybe surprised a few people this year, and I think that was largely due to people like Brad Biggs.
Brad Biggs of the Northern Lakes League, as we now switch to the Goalkeeper of the Year on the boys' side, and certainly a strong candidate of the NLL for that award as well.
Yeah, and you look at what Brendan Graves did last year, and then this year again. I mean, All-American last year, an All-American game, and phenomenal again for Perrysburg. But you know, some other guys really stood out. The run that Beasley had in so many games for Northview was a big surprise. Really, how much he stepped up, and so many new goalkeepers kind of stepping into the fray. But you know, so far, I mean, there's a number of them. It's going to be a lot wider open, though, I think, next year after, to be fair, Graves moves on to the next level.
Yeah, I think you got Southview in there with the Brock in goal, had a good year as well. I thought Andrew Beasley, like you said, had a really good year as well in goal for Northview, and made some really big saves. Ultimately, though, I am going to go personally with Brendan Graves.
So you guys agree on the Goalkeeper of the Year, disagreed on the Boys Player of the Year. Let's go to the Boys Coach of the Year, and maybe we get some disagreement there, some conversation there.
Well, you know, right away you think about the great runs that people have had in Northwest Ohio. You know, on the Division I side, Anthony Wayne goes unbeaten in Northwest Ohio. Their only blemish on their regular season record from Northwest Ohio was actually D3 Ottawa Hills with the tie. So we also, you know, with Brian Billings and his staff at Anthony Wayne, but then throw in Nate Bear and Ottawa Hills staff, obviously, what they put together, working through so many injuries this year, really impressive. Kurt Brazo, really surprising people at Northview, bringing their program up as high as it was with the losses they had of players. Greg McElroy at St. John's, yes. Disclosure, I coached there this year. 1 hour a week though, or 2 hours a week at most. But so I'm still credible. But he lost 7 stars last year on that team, and they came out the way they did, and the performances that they had this year was pretty impressive for how many players they lost. So I think those are just some of the ones that you look at right away. And Danny has another great one where you're talking about off-air prior. I think that's a great one that sometimes gets overlooked too at the smaller schools. And if we can get some Buckeye cable down to Bluffton, we'll throw Steve Smucker in there next year. Phenomenal job by him at Bluffton.
I mean, yeah, everything really sort of, Chris said there, some great coaches in the area who, to be fair, have really turned some programs, you know, from what could be difficult situations in terms of losing some very good players into having really good runs this year in the sections and in the tournament as well. I'm going to go with Central Catholic and Chad Lilich. I thought he did an excellent job this year. I watched him a couple of times, once live, once through a rerun as well. But I thought his just whole demeanour with them was really good. Kind of put them on the map a little bit for me this year. I thought they had a really good year. Maybe a little bit unfortunate not to go a little bit further, but they had a really good year this year. I thought he did a great job with a good group of players. I thought he managed them well. They played some good soccer. So that's mine this year, Chad Lilich.
Yeah, and I think for me it's going to go back, and I think I've done this a couple years in the past as well. Brian Billings at Anthony Wayne, and it's not just about the wins and losses. It's also consistently able to keep that a community program, much like Lori Williams and the girls' side as well. 60-some kids trying out, keeping 3 teams, senior laden, and he made it work. Sometimes it's easy just to cast some kids aside and not keep them in the program, make it easy on yourself. And I don't know if this is the case or not, but as a coach, I know how difficult sometimes it is, and I really feel that keeping that team together and all that depth and still being as good as they are, and utilize as a strength, it really sets that Anthony Wayne program aside on that coaching side this year. Only 5 Northwest Ohio goals against, I believe, and undefeated against Northwest Ohio. I'm going that way again.
All right. Now, earlier I said this is the end of the soccer season. That's a little bit of a misnomer because really soccer never really ends.
It never ends. We still have senior all-star games for high school, and then I came from training tonight.
I had training tonight as well, so we're still in it till June.
All right, so there are a lot of opportunities for you to get better during the soccer season. Certainly we have gotten better on our coverage of soccer thanks to Chris Black and Danny Fisher. I want to thank you gentlemen for coming in every week on Sidekicks and helping us understand the beautiful game just a little bit better.